All right, everyone, welcome. Today, we are going to tackle one of the most famously tricky parts of English grammar, verb tenses. But don't you worry, I promise, by the time we're done here, this whole complicated subject is going to feel a lot clearer and honestly, much simpler.
Okay, let's just dive right in. I want to start with a statistic that might actually blow your mind. Studies show that up to 95% of all English we speak and write happens in just 5 tenses. I mean, look at this chart. The present and past simple, these two right here, make up about 80% of our daily chats. Then you have the future simple, present perfect, and present continuous covering most of the rest. And that tiny little sliver over there? Yeah, that's all 7 of the other tenses combined.
So that leads us to a really powerful question, doesn't it? What if you could get a handle on the vast majority of English, and I mean like 90% of it, just by focusing your energy on 5 core tenses? It's the ultimate shortcut to sounding fluent, and that is exactly our game plan for today.
But, before we simplify things, we have to acknowledge the system you've probably seen a million times in your textbooks. This is that traditional map of the 12 tenses. And yeah, it can look a little intimidating at first, but it's a really useful place to start. And here it is, the whole shebang. You've got your 3 main times, past, present, and future. And then you've got 4 aspects or ways of looking at that time. Simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. So 3 times 4 gives us our 12 tenses. Now what's so cool about this is that while it shows the whole landscape, we're about to find the super highway that just cuts right through the middle of it.
So let's build our 5 tense toolkit. These 5 are your bread and butter, as they say. They are the essential tools you're going to use to get your point across clearly and effectively in pretty much any situation you can think of.
First up, the absolute powerhouse, present simple. This is for facts, habits, things that are generally true. Like, the supermarket is busy on Saturdays. That's not just true right this second, it's a routine. It's a fact of life. This tense is the most common for a reason. It basically describes the world as we know it.
Next up, past simple. This is our main tool for telling stories. It's for any action that is 100% finished. Think of it like a chain of events. Yolanda woke up, she brushed her teeth, and she headed off to the office. Boom, boom, boom. Action 1, then 2, then 3. All done. All in the past.
And now, let's look to the future. The future simple, using the word will, is absolutely perfect for those spontaneous, in-the-moment decisions. Just imagine you suddenly realize, oh, I'm pretty hungry. I think I will order some food. You didn't plan it, you just decided right then and there. That's the beauty of it. It's for reactions and promises made on the spot.
Now, the present perfect is a bit special. Think of it as a bridge that connects the past to the present moment. If we say they have traveled around Asia, sure, the traveling happened in the past, but the experience, the knowledge, the memories, that's part of who they are today. The action is over, but its relevance is right now.
And to round out our toolkit, we have the present continuous. This is the tense for what is happening right now. Deborah is whipping up some delicious banana pancakes. You can almost smell them cooking, can't you? The action is in progress. It's also great for temporary situations, which makes it different from the permanent truths we see with the present simple.
Okay, you've got your 5 tense toolkit. You're feeling good, right? Well, now it's time for a little plot twist. Because if you ask the experts how many tenses there actually are in English, you are going to get some very different answers. This is what we call the great tense debate.
So you've got 2 camps. On one side, you have the teacher's view, which is super practical. It says there are 12, maybe even 16, because each one helps us communicate something different. But on the other side, you have the linguist's view, which is way stricter. It argues that English only has, wait for it, 2 tenses. 2! How is that even possible?
Well, it all comes down to a very technical definition. This quote here explains it perfectly. To a strict linguist, a tense only counts if the verb itself physically changes, what they call an inflectional change. And in English, that really only happens twice, when we add that s for the present simple, like in he walks, and when we add ed for the past simple, like in he walked. Everything else, like will have walked, is just made with helper verbs.
Now that whole debate is fascinating, but let's bring it back down to earth. Let's make it practical. We're going to look at a common point of confusion, the past perfect, to see why understanding a tense's job is so much more important than just memorizing a number.
Here is the easiest way to think about the past perfect. It's the past of the past. That's it. It creates a little flashback right in the middle of your sentence. It's a signal to your listener that you're talking about something that was finished before another thing happened in the past.
This timeline just makes it crystal clear. Check out the sequence. First, at 8 p.m., they
had prepared the venue. That action is done. Then, an hour later at 9 p.m., the guests arrived. See? The past perfect, had prepared, sets the stage. It establishes the earlier past before the main past event happens.
This picture of a broken window is such a great way to see the subtle power of this tense. If you say, the window was broken, you're just describing its state. It's a description of what you see. But if you say the window had been broken, that's a different story. You're focusing on the action that happened earlier that caused this situation. Someone or something broke it before the moment we're talking about.
Okay, time for a pop quiz. Let's test this out. Take a look at these 3 sentences. Which one is incorrect? I'll give you a second. Got it? The one that doesn't work is B. She had traveled to Italy last year. Now, why is that wrong? Because when you name a specific time in the past, like last year, you have to use the simple past. You just say, she traveled to Italy last year.
So, as we start to wrap this all up, let's focus on the big picture. Let's talk about what really, truly matters when it comes to clear, confident communication.
You know, that whole debate between 2 tenses versus 12, it's fascinating if you're a grammar nerd like me, but for you, the person actually learning and using the language, it's not about memorizing a number. The most crucial point is this. What matters is understanding what each tense does. What is its job? What is its function?
So here is your new perspective. First, your 5-tense toolkit has got you covered for about 90% of situations. Easy. Second, think of that big 12-tense system as a useful map, but you don't need to live there. The 2-tense theory? That's just a cool peek under the hood at how language is built. And remember to use the past perfect for the past of the past. But the most important rule of all, always, always focus on the function, not just the form.
And I will leave you with one final thought to chew on. If the rules for something as basic as tenses are really more like flexible guidelines, what other grammar rules that we treat as absolute law might actually be more flexible than we think? Kind of makes you wonder, right? Thanks so much for learning with me today.